So is there a new Cold War between China and the United States? I think for less about 1 year after the pandemic ended, both Biden and Xi Jinping have said many times they don't want a new Cold War with the other. But I think the competition between the US and China will stay with us for a quite long while. I will explain why in the coming session. Because I think basically we will see the competition is a competition between the status quo power and a rising power. The status quo power is the United States, and the rising power is China. And their competition, there are three fronts of their competition. Geopolitically, China would break through the first island chain and compete with the US in domination of the global open sea. The US as a status quo power, they have a very good control of the first island chain with their strategical allies in East Asia. And the open sea, the global open sea actually are also dominated by the United States. They have the strongest navy in the world. There are many fleets of the aircraft carriers the US would deploy around the world. And nowadays, the PLA try very hard to build up their capability in these many different areas to compete with the United States. So that is the first competition, the geopolitical competition. And the second one is in the technological field. US is the dominant power in many advanced technology, and China would catch up. China would compete and even surpass the US in strategical industry, including aerospace, hypersonic missiles, cyber technology, artificial intelligence, biotech, and so on and so forth. So the US would make sure that the gap between China and the United States will keep for a while or even enlarge in the future. So the competition in technology will last for quite a while. And in the third front is the ideology. China would advocate the superiority of China model to provide prosper and a stable life for developing countries, people. They would say the China model is a better choice than the Western democracy. And they will also undermine the international liberal order for commerce and human rights. And for the United States, they would they will demonstrate the superiority of democracy, and they will maintain the liberal international order for American value and Americans' economic interest, as well as all Americans' allies and partners' values and interest. So ideologically, the competition will continue as well. And so I think after we see the competition geopolitically, technologically, and ideologically, we can see the competition between China and the US is a structural competition. So we will not see this competition go away until one of them obviously fail or succeed. And the reason why we see in recent years Taiwan has become a focal point of the US-China competition, I think because the following reasons. Geopolitically, Taiwan is located at the center of the first island chain. The so-called first island chain is from those islands around the Japanese Hokkaido till the Philippines. And China actually, Taiwan actually is located at the center of the first island chain. And technologically, Taiwan has become the primary supplier of advanced semiconductors. The advanced semiconductors are very essential components for all those strategical technology we just mentioned about, the strategical industries. All of them will rely upon the supply of advanced semiconductors from Taiwan, because Taiwan produces 90% of advanced semiconductors for the world. So technologically, Taiwan is also very important, also become a focal point. And ideologically, because Taiwan nowadays is the only democracy in Chinese societies in the world, China, Hong Kong, Macau, Singapore, all these Chinese societies are not democratic country. Only Taiwan is. Not only that, Taiwan actually has been ranked as the most liberal and progressive democracies in Asia, and ranked top 10 around the world. So for China to prove the China model is superior, they won't see Taiwan's democracy succeed. So from this point of view, we can see the reason why for both China and the United States, they don't want to lose Taiwan. So for the future competition between China and the US, Taiwan will be the focal point for quite a while. Okay, so now we will talk about, is the competition a new Cold War? Yes and no. Why it is yes? Because we can see for both China and the United States, they feel the competition is a matter of survival. If China loses the competition, Xi Jinping have to announce the breakup of the China dream, which is the legitimacy of the Chinese Communist Party now, and which is the reason why Xi Jinping justified his concentration of power into his hand. So he must win the competition to realize the China dream. And from the United States' point of view, as a status quo power, he must maintain the so-called Pax Americana, that is the peaceful environment led by the United States. If they lose this competition, they could not maintain the peaceful environment provided by the United States since the end of the Second World War. So that will be the collapse of the so-called Pax Americana, that is the collapse of the United States hegemon. And it's also a very important national identity and legitimacy of the United States government. So it's a matter of survival. And so as we can see, the competition will become a zero-sum competition. So it will last until one of them fail. So that's the second reason. And globally nowadays, we see the conflict is not only between China and the United States. We also see conflict have been show up in many other countries in other regions. The Russian invasion of the Ukraine is one example. Before that, the European countries don't want to choose side between China and the United States. But because of the invasion, now they have to choose side. And very recently, we see the conflict between Israel and the Palestinian, between Israel and the Arabian countries. And now, before that, Israel don't want to choose side between China and the United States. And now they have to get closer to the United States. So some geopolitical situation just develop beyond the control of China and the United States, and all it seems to become more and more like the situation of a Cold War. And some people will say, no, it is not a new Cold War. For these people, there are three reasons for they say it is not a new Cold War. The first reason is China now is very different from the former Soviet Union before. China is not advocating a global socialist revolution or communist revolution to replace capitalism. China doesn't want to challenge the capitalist production system. That is a very important difference. And the second difference is Chinese economy now is much, much bigger than the Soviet Union then. And there is more economic interdependence between China and the Western capitalist countries. Because of these two factors, it's very hard for us to see a kind of economic isolation between the US camp and the China camp, just as what happened during the old Cold War. So for this reason, people think there would not be a new Cold War between China and the United States, will argue there will be no new Cold War. I think it's very hard for us to say now whether there will be a new Cold War. So we have to observe carefully. And we don't want a Cold War, but we also don't want a hard war. So either there is a new Cold War or not, we must maintain, we must try to maintain the situation, not let it to escalate into a real hard war. Okay, that's my lecture today. I hope you like it. I hope you find it interesting and you will pay your attention to this important issue. Thank you very much for your listening. Thank you.